Colin, what do you got for me, Chief?
So we all like video games to some varying degree, right? Like
Right.
video games are a part of our lives, big part of
Except
our lives,
Nick's.
a smaller part of our lives.
I think it starts here and maybe goes this way. So like least, second least, and then you two are just like on another planet from us.
Well, I'm curious, I guess, in regard to what are the things we love more than games. So that like, if someone said like you could only do 5 things with your life, like 5 tasks or whatever, like would games be in that list? Or 3 things, or 1 thing, would games be that thing? So, I'll give you an example.
Thank you.
Lay it on me.
So I love video games. They've always been a part of my life, right? I'm always going to love video games. I'm always going to play them. But there are definitely things I love more than video games. So I love politics more than video games. Someone said you have to pick politics or video games. I pick politics. I love history
Really?
more than video games. Someone said you had to pick history or video games. I'd pick history. You know, I think chess is still the best game of all time, better than any video game. So,
Wait, so it goes politics, chess.
well, no. So I'm just naming off some things, right?
Yeah.
And I would even pick sports over video games. So
Really?
yeah, because there's a diversity there. You can watch them, you can play them. You know. So imagine if someone said like you can either watch and play sports or you can play video games.
So what
right?
is it?
You
What
can
is it that
watch video
draws
games.
you to the video game industry then? Because you've got this is like the 5th on your totem.
Well, because Cheryl, my girlfriend, and I often talk about this.
No, you didn't do it right. You got to say Cheryl, my girlfriend.
Oh, my girlfriend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't know if you had to do that little face at the end, but I'd love an animated GIF of it.
So she talks about this a lot, like where I have like a lot of interests, like a lot of like real hardcore interests, you know, and I have to find time for all of them. Now I got into the gaming industry because I really love games. Now I proved my passion in games because I wrote about them for free for many years. So, you know, in addition to playing them and spending all my money on them, but you know, in terms of things I'm most passionate about, things I love. If you could tell me like, Colin, you can never pay attention to politics ever again, or read about politics, or partake in the system, or any of that kind of stuff, or you can never play video games again, I would choose politics. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess that's what I'm saying. So like, it's an either or scenario, just a hypothetical thing. I love all these things probably somewhat equally. But in the grand mix, when you have to put them up against each other, it would be like, Colin, you can watch the Jets and the Islanders and watch any sport you want, read about sports, watch Sports Center, do all these things, or you can play video games. I would choose sports.
Interesting.
You know?
Interesting.
Here's my question then for this hypothetical world we're living in. Like, so here's I'm pretty much I'm running through the scenarios in my head. It's pretty much I'm never gonna downvote video games. It's always gonna be video games. But here's my
Video
thing.
games first.
Yeah, that's my passion in life. But like obviously comics are up there, right? But so if I say comics, right, would that include comic book TV shows and movies? And,
Yeah.
Okay. So then
I guess so.
So then here's what I want to flip back to then. If I pick video games, am I never gonna get to play a Spider-Man game again or a Superman game if it came out? Does that count as a video game?
Yeah, I mean, video games are video games, comics
Okay,
are
then
comics.
yeah, totally video games. Done.
No, I don't think that's the exercise. I think you have to pick something else
Oh,
other than video
I'm
games.
sorry. I thought
No. That is video games are
saying-
your number one thing. I don't believe that. I think I can give you a bunch of things that you would pick over video
Sure, go
games.
ahead. Well, I mean, are you gonna, what, like family and people?
No.
Like, you
People, no
you can
family.
never talk
No,
to
no,
Christine
no.
again or play
No,
video
no,
games.
no. You would choose
My girlfriend.
You would choose video games over Christine. I think it would be more like your mom. Yeah, that would be like a more unfair thing. Like your mom or video games.
So you are throwing people in
No.
there.
I'm just saying
Okay.
that's why it gets
Okay.
unfair.
Okay.
Because then you have to get really
Yeah,
grand.
no people.
No. People obviously like I choose my family over.
Yeah, you have to.
But
choose your
what do
family.
you think Greg would choose over video games that he's not thinking of?
I think there's a legitimate chance Greg would, choose sports over video games. If Greg can never watch a Mizzou game again or talk about Mizzou in a way that he can really associate with them like he did when he was there, that would probably be a very painful thing for Greg.
That would hurt.
I think that Greg would never be able to read a comic book again. Or if Greg couldn't watch TV ever again, but he can play video games. This is why I think people get. This is the point I'm trying to make is that people are very eager to say video games are my favorite thing, right?
Yeah.
And I love video games. There are very few people on the planet that have played more video games than I have. But it's not been like this dominant, overbearing force in my life.
See, I
where
think
it's
you're
like
underselling me. I think for sure I would still with everything you just did. Video games, yeah, it would hurt. I mean, giving up any of these things would suck, right? That's the big thing. But not being able to watch Mizzou games. I mean, I don't watch most of the basketball season, and even football. If it's like too early of a game or I have something to do on a Saturday, it's not like I stop my world for it. The Jets are on, or even the Bears for that matter. More the Jets for sure, or the Islanders, right? You stop your life to make sure you catch that game. I don't do that for the Mizzou football season. I try to, but it's tough because I travel a lot and yada yada yada.
It's more that I don't stop my life. It's just that I plan my life around the Jets.
Sure.
So,
And then TV, I don't like TV. I really don't. Like, I watch TV when I eat food. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. And like last night we came home with Infamous, and Christine's like, all right, we're making dinner. I'm like, cool. You want to watch something? And she's like, yeah. And we turn on. She's like, oh, how about Nashville or Arrow? And I'm like, nope. Those are an hour-long show. I do not want to commit that much time to it. Let's just watch a Family Guy that's on. You know what I mean? What's wrong?
It's making me nervous.
Oh, okay. And so like that's the weird thing. Like when I talked to Damon, like yesterday we were on GameScoop and we were talking about it, right? And at the end of it, he was talking about TV shows he needs to watch. He's looking for something else. And Justin started listing shows that I've heard are great, you know, like Justified or The Wire, all these things. And Dave was like, no, I've watched all of those things. And it's like, fuck, man, like I don't have time to get through TV like that. I come home and I play video games. That's what I want to do. And when I'm watching TV, I'm usually like, this is all right, but I'd rather play a game. You know what I mean? Like there's rare days where it's like, I'm waiting for Infamous and Metal Gear and Titanfall and Elder Scrolls, and so nothing is scratching my itch, so I'll watch something or consume something else, but I don't. Video games are my life. And for comics, it's the same thing of, I love comics. Comics are a huge part of my life in terms of being a hobby. They're still my hobby, right? Like, video games are my life, whether it's the fact that at IGN I talk about them all day long, or I come home and play them then to relax or do something else. Like, I legitimately think video games are my number one priority as far as, like, outside of family and Portola.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't think games have ever been that, you know, like that my number one priority. Yet, this is the thing, is that I don't think you necessarily love games more than I love games, you know? I think it's like a matter of how we prioritize things, you know? Like, I couldn't imagine, like, another one's music, you know? Like, if I could never listen to music, I listen to music for like 4 or 5 hours a day, you know? Like literally, like, sit there and we'll listen to music, like, not like just in the background. If I couldn't listen to music, like, I'd lose my fucking mind. Like, I need music, you know?
Yes.
I need it in my life, you know? And I need to read about politics. I need to read history. History is probably the thing I honestly, like, when it comes down to it, is the thing I love the most, you know? And, you know, but like I was saying, like, I talked to Cheryl, like, the fact is that, like, you know, we talk about it as a blessing. I used to talk about this with my father, too, is like, I love all of these things, you know? Like, very much. They're like my kids, you know? And it would be hard to, like, I guess, choose your favorite child.
Yeah.
But if both your children are drowning, you got to choose one of them.
No, you jump in
and
you join their fate.
Yes. Or you just kill yourself.
Yeah.
Back to
the you both your kids die, then you spend 4 to 7 years becoming a pilot.
But I think it's more like, you know, I guess the point I'm trying to make, where I'm trying to get, is like, I love video games like 10 out of 10, right? Yeah. But I love all these other things like 10 out of 10 too. Yeah. And they all kind of exist in this ecosystem. They all float around in my head all the time. But, you know, I have like my dream job right now, but like, you know, and I love to write about video games and play video games. They'll always be a part of me, like always, forever be a part of me. But you know, it's easier to imagine my life without video games than it is to imagine it without music, or without politics, or with like it, or history, or any of those kinds of things. It's just impossible to imagine, because it really is literally impossible for me to imagine my life. If you just remove politics from my life, I won't even be myself anymore, you know?
See, I think this is where I kind of get a little disappointed with myself, is that I don't think I could list 5 things that I care about 10 out of 10.
Movies, done. When
you
talk about movies on the level we talk about video games, and it's always amazing when I hear you talk about it.
My movies are your video games.
Yeah.
But I don't have a 2, 3, 4, or 5 like you do. I don't have a sport. I don't care about sports. Video games, I enjoy video games occasionally, like, but mostly I enjoy the zeitgeist when you guys get caught up in something. Like, I'm a little jealous that you guys are all playing Titanfall. You're not playing Titanfall anymore. Now you're moving on to Infamous. But
you can take my Xbox this weekend if you want.
Can I? Just have it. Just play as you.
Yeah. Don't. Oh man, my
please take it so we can remove my
KDR would be so terrible.
It'd be so much better. I'm so much more coordinated than you are. Look at these hands. Surgeon's hands.
Shadow boxing.
Surgeon's hands.
What about making content, though? I feel like that's a big thing.
Well, that's what I was going to say for you, though, right? Is like, Tim, like, I know you love video games. I know you love watching content. But what you love, I think, most is actually being a part of that community. And that's what you'd have to give up, I think.
I don't know.
That'd be the hard thing
I think
because you go home and watch
the passion's music for sure.
But you watch YouTube videos like these guys play games.
I think my number one thing would be internet video, just in general.
Yeah, you
like
love that culture.
Everything about that stuff, like that would be it.
And
then comics and like all that stuff for sure are in there.
You're a huge comic guy too.
Yeah. When it comes to video games with me, it's kind of weird. I feel like if I had to, for these other things, I could give up playing video games ever again. If I had to. But I could not give up reading about video games and knowing what's going on with video games and like hearing the announcements of video games. I know that's really weird, but that's always kind of been how I am. And like that's why I love IGN so much, is like I get to be in that world always. And like so that's really awesome to me. I don't play games that much.
Yeah.
I love them. I just don't play them that much.
Yeah. See, for me, I'd have to, if I had to give up movies, I wouldn't know what else I'd do. Like, to me, even like, it sounds weird, but every single thing we do kind of plays into itself, right? So like doing anything on YouTube, doing anything on IGN, it's all sort of creating content for entertainment, for information, but there's an added value to whoever's watching it, right? See, that's the allure to me of movies, is that I don't just like watching them. One day I hope to make them. I hope to make a film or multiple films.
Can I be in it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be actually probably about Portillo. So you're just going to be in it from the waist down, like the Muppets.
Fine. Okay.
You know, like Nanny from the Muppet Babies.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
God.
Yeah, I just like create. I think the thing that would be hardest for me to give up is probably the dream of being able to create bigger and better stuff.
And talking about cocaine.
And just talking about rails, man. Just lines. You know what I mean?
What?
If you guys ever decide to do cocaine, if we all decide,
I'm never
what do we
gonna
do it
do
together?
cocaine.
I'm never gonna do it either. I'm
I know.
terrified of it.
No,
But
I
if
would-
we
I
all
would
do
never-
it,
I
let's
would
do it
never
together.
No cocaine.
It ain't natural.
Let's do it together. Let's do it on
I would
this
also
show.
put flirting on your thing.
What, you mean women?
You have a passion for flirt.
Yeah, but I've had to
Burritos.
I've had to push that down because I'm clearly married
Yeah, I
to
know, but-
my wife.
Yeah, I knew it was going to come at some point.
There it is.
But-
No, I used to love that too, but you know, I think we're talking a little more around like sort of what we want to do as a profession for life.
Yeah, well, not even that. It's just like, you know, something Tim said resonated with me, which is that when it comes to gaming culture, you know, like I always loved writing about games since I was really young. When I used to write on GameFAQs, that's how I got my job. And I would do that in my spare time. I would carve out literally hundreds of hours of my life doing this, you know?
And I would carve out hours reading these
Right,
things.
exactly.
Like, GameFAQs to me is like my life.
Yeah, and GameFAQs still has an awesome community there, and
still
I'm
visit
proud
every
to
day.
have come from that community. It's not the same as it used to be, but you know, when I think about playing games, like I enjoy playing games, but there will be times where I don't want to play anything, you know, at all, like long periods of time where I don't want to play games. But I'll never stop reading about the games, and I'll never stop like kind of engaging in that community, especially the PlayStation community that Greg and I are like so embedded in. But when I think about the things I've written, like if someone said to me, "Okay, you keep games, but you can either play them or you can write about them." You know, I actually would rather write about them. And people say like, well, how could you do that without playing them? And so I would say the things I'm most proud of writing are the history pieces that I've written and the story. Like I'm working on the history of Sucker Punch now. You know, the stories about them making the games and how they came to these things. Like the history of Naughty Dog that I wrote is the best thing I've ever written. And I'm not sure if I'll ever write something better than that, you know, and I'm much more proud of that than any review I've written, you know? Like that's a real scholarly like journal fucking, you know, like if there was a gaming history journal, you know, peer reviewed something that would be in it, you know? Like I am so proud of that piece. You know, that took like so much time and so much dedication. That's why a lot of people don't do that kind of stuff because it's hard. You know?
See, that's the same for me, right? Is it goes beyond the superficial of well, it's not a superficial, but it goes beyond that level of just playing the games and kind of reading about them. So you guys have been around it for so long that now you've kind of diversified and been like, you know, the people that make the games, you know the stories behind the games, you know kind of how the process works, and you can really dig into the sort of holistic picture of it all, which is really, really cool. And that's what I think everyone sort of should strive towards in their profession, right? Is kind of really understanding, and that's what I admire most about you guys, right? And actually, to some degree, Tim, like not as much as you because you're you're on a lesser level,
Exactly.
in all walks of
In
life,
every way.
except for height. But you guys amaze me every day because, and it's one of the things that I'm kind of sad about in my life, is that when you meet people in the video game industry, you meet them you have such a wealth of knowledge, and you get to know them, and it's actually it's your thing, you know, it's your life that you're living every day out there. And I don't care about video games as much, but that's like 99% of my job every day. And so when I meet PR people or when I meet developers that are huge, I feel a little bit empty sometimes when I'll talk to them because I know about their games. I'm around it. I hear you guys talking. I watch it being played. I capture footage for it, but I don't have that passion of like, oh gosh, like I don't think about video games, and it's sad to me that I don't think about video games in the same vein that I think about movies. Where if I had to give up movies, if I had to give up production and the stuff that we're doing right now, I don't know what else I'd do. I don't think I could function if I couldn't be around cameras and lights and mics all day long. I think about that sometimes because I was a computer science major in college for my first year until I had to do my first lab and realized that I don't know anything about anything. And I was like, wait a minute, I cheated through math all through high school. There's no way I'm getting through this. And then I switched over to being a film major. But the second I was a film major, it was like coming home. Like I was in the department, it was 90 people, and I'm like, this is it. This is my life. This is the rest of my life forever. And I cannot, like, my friends, I have friends now, they're going back and going to law school, getting their MBAs, things like that. And I'm like, I don't ever want to do that. I just want to do this. I would not be able to function if I was like something else. Not that they're bad, not that those jobs are bad. It's just,
I mean,
this is what I've always wanted.
I'm right there with you, except like I knew from day one, I was like, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I need to do to get there.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm still working on that. I'm still
we all
doing
are,
things,
I think.
and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool. But yeah, take that away from me, I don't know what the hell I'd do.
See, my thing is, like,
Starbucks.
you're talking about making content. Like, obviously, I love making content and videos and writing and doing all the stuff we do for this and IGN. But, like, when it's frustrating and I'm mad at you guys and something else, and it's like, all I want to do is fucking quit and go home and play video games all the time. That's what you think about, right? Like, how could I do that? How could I just play? Where could I, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I'm ready to, but one day I'll be ready to hang up being a personality and doing whatever and being in front of the camera and talking and I'll just want to play games. Like, that's still the thing. Like, if I won the lottery, right? Like, I still work at IGN, I still do my videos, but there'd be a lot of days off where I'm just playing DC Universe online, or
See,
just
that is so
being part
funny
of
to
some
me.
other community.
Like, I go home and I look at the games that I haven't played yet that I really do care about and do want to play. Like, a lot of these Nintendo games that I still haven't. Like, I have not played Link Between Worlds for 3DS,
wow.
and I love Nintendo, love Zelda, and like I have it. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'd rather scheme some new YouTube videos. I'd rather plan some new stuff. I'd rather like think of how to improve this channel, and then I start like writing documents and like thinking about
that's
all
the
that
problem,
stuff.
though, right?
And, like,
And
but that's what I care
think we
about.
all have that problem where we're like, we're so busy in our everyday lives, but because we have two jobs for all intents and purposes, right? We have, all of us actually probably have multiple jobs at this point because we all have things that we're doing that we're interested in that go beyond IGN. Yeah. But this channel takes a fair amount of effort, and it's fun. That's the problem. Is that if it were a chore, we would be like, whatever. We would have done like 3 videos. I'm like, screw this, is not fun. But coming over here is fun. Like on a Saturday morning sometimes, or like after work, and we get to just chill and hang out and talk. And so that's the problem. Is I go home sometimes after I'm done with all of the other things that I do during my day, and it's 11 o'clock, and then it's like, well, I have 1 hour to decompress, and sometimes I push it to like midnight to 1, and that's when Tim goes, dude, Nick, you gotta get more sleep, bro. I need you, bro.
You said it to him?
He's been looking bad, man. Last week was rough.
Last week was rough because I took a day off and I went and did a short with one of my friends. I AD'd for him, and it was real production, like film production level. It's just really hard. It's really hard on your body, especially when you have a small crew. But it was a blast, you know. And that's the thing that it's awesome to be able to do. It's just, you know, kind of going along with what Colin's saying, is like prioritizing in life is difficult, especially when you get good at a lot of different things, and then you're like, you know, in order to really succeed, you have to kind of focus in those energies, right?
Yeah, it's hard. There's only
You have to give something up.
There's only so many hours in the day. Now,
Right.
The big difference is that not a lot of people are blessed to be able to do one of their passions for a living, which is what Greg and I specifically, and you guys on the film side,
us as well
production
too.
side,
Absolutely.
But like we're
I
able
love
to do, like,
our
you know,
work.
we're embedded in games. Like I don't have to try to do that. You know, like I have to do it. You know, and I often think about what would my life be like if I wasn't doing that. Then games would probably rise back up because it wouldn't be like this endemic thing in my life anymore, like it has been for years, where, you know, I would have to not go to work and like not survive and like pay my bills to like not have games in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part of it is that I take it for granted, you know?
Interesting.
Like I had, like, just like when I was in college and I was about to go to grad school and I had, you know, got my TA position and all those kinds of things, and I left, you know, to come here instead. Like history was part of my life. I worked at Mass Historical Society for a while. I was transcribing documents. I was, you know, embedded in this thing. That's when I got my tattoos and all these things. Like history was my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you know, the beauty is that my bosses have allowed me to kind of marry these things together, you know, and games, which I love, and history, which I love, into these things that no one else is really doing. So like these history pieces, these profiles. But I wonder, you know, like I said, like if you know, if you had one, you know, if 5 things are drowning in the water, and your 5 passions are drowning, or whatever they are, and you have one life vest, and you throw it to one of them, like, which is it? And like that's just a question I think about often, because
And you go politics.
I go politics because there's you know, and I actually would go history and politics are really one and the same to me. So like they, you know, that's my shit. You know what I mean? Like games have always been like my favorite diversion, and like, you know, love that kind of stuff. But maybe games, if I was like if I worked for the Washington Post writing about politics, maybe games would be my number one thing, because then it would be like, you know, something I do on the side when I relax.
I don't know.
Just like reading about politics is what I do on the side to relax.
I think it's hard though, because especially with you guys, like you guys have so many you're so versatile, and Colin, specifically you have just so like a wealth of knowledge in so many different subjects that it's almost it's I guess what they call like a good problem to have, right? But there's no reason why this portion of your life has to be forever, right? And that's the thing a lot of people I think don't think understands. Like people change careers. Like the average person changes careers like something like every 5 years, something like that. Like businesses, career, whatever. And so I don't think you'll ever give up writing though. That's the one thing I don't.
No, I love to write, and that's the thing is like I'm not talking about like you guys talk about production as the thing, right? The verb, as it were, and like writing does I love to write.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I love to read.
I feel like that's the one thing you could not give up. If
no,
you
I couldn't.
to.
Like I'd always want to write about something. Like people say, like, well, you have your dream job. What are your other dream jobs? It'd be like write history, write politics, write music, write like and, you know. And
can you ever imagine a part like a time in your life when you're not touching your hands aren't touching a keyboard?
No, I don't think so. Like you know,
it's
like
the same with me.
Yeah, it's the same way, right? Like the verb, the action, like is writing. That is what transcends everything. Like they're like, would I want to play football? No, I'm too old and small, whatever. And like that time has passed in my life. Would I want to write? Would I want to be the Jets beat writer? Yes, yeah, and like a fucking heartbeat, you know, like so like those are the kinds of like you know like so yeah, that's true. Like above all else, like the playing and all those kinds of things, but like what is it that you do in those ecosystems? That's what I'm trying to say. Like with video games, like the act of playing is something I'll always do. Like playing is video games. That is what video games, you know, that's the essence of video games. But I like to write about video games, you know. And
I like to read about video games.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
watch
the
videos.
action that matters too.
I like to have Tim just tell me within 5 minutes what's going on in the world, and then I move on.
You
to
get
my
your
oblivion.
Starbucks, put on your sunglasses, and ride off into the
Like
night.
like politics is interesting, but like I don't. The end result of politics is much less fascinating to me than the machine. You know, like.
Do you ever see yourself running for office though? At a certain point,
No, people ask me that all the time. I wouldn't do that to my family.
really?
No, and I wouldn't do that to myself.
No, but, like, what
I
about-
couldn't
what about, like,
imagine
local
the shit they
government?
would dig up about me. you
Oh,
know?
they know it. There's 15 episodes. Of it.
No.
there's like 100 conversations.
No, I'm
with
sure
Collins
there's
on
incriminating pictures of me from college out there that
youtube.com/GameOverGreggy.
would, you know, stupid things.
Of course, but who cares?
Nothing that I'm
Like,
really ashamed of, but like then you have to like you know your family has to go through all that and stuff. No, I wouldn't do that. But like it became clear to me in October that Romney was going to lose to Obama, right? Like it was obvious, and I held on to the hope that things would change or there would be an October surprise or something like that, but there wasn't. But it was like that didn't stop the game for me. Like I loved the whole lead up to it. I loved the primary and like the fucking attack ads and all that kind of stuff. Like that's what I loved. So like the end result, like Obama won, and I was like, well, I knew this was going to happen, but like even though I predicted Romney would win many times, but it was the getting to that point, and it's the same thing with games. Like playing the end result of the game is fun, but I went to Sucker Punch and talk to them about making Infamous. Well, that was actually kind of more interesting, you know?
Yeah, like to me, I totally agree with you. Smash Bros, one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm gonna love it when the new one comes out. But man, I'm telling you right now, every night new shit being announced, this is what I'm most excited about. I love this.
That's fun. It's the anticipation, right? It's the being just completely immersed in whatever's going on in the specific field that you've chosen to watch. Yeah, the hype. I mean, but you also have an insider track too, right? Like you get to go to the conferences, you get to go to E3, you get to meet with these people. They come into the office to show these games ahead of time, and so you really do have a deeper knowledge of this stuff, which is just, I mean, that's yet another reason why we're very blessed to be able to work at a place like IGN where we're given those opportunities on a daily basis, and we can take them or not take them. But yeah, I just I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine a life. I don't think could you imagine a life if someone was like, you can't watch YouTube ever again?
No,
Because that's how you consume all your
YouTube
content, right?
specifically,
Just online content.
internet video. Yeah, man. Oh
No,
God,
it's crazy. That blows me away.
I don't like that at all.
I'd vote for you though, Colin.
Thanks. I would vote for me too.
If you ran for like a local government position, I would like try to fund your
I
campaign.
want to be comp supervisor.
No, I'd run for if I ran for anything, I'd run for the House.
Yeah.
And I would shake it up. It's
See, I
an
think
expensive game though.
I think that's what you could do though. I feel like you're so true. You'd run on that platform of like full transparency, and maybe be that one candidate that could actually push through. And then,
Hi, I'm Colin Moriarty. I murdered a kid when I was 7. Now you got nothing to show.
Wanna
Let me
watch
tell
me
you how I'm gonna
strangle
fix
this-
America.
Wanna watch me strangle this bunny? Here it is.
Yeah, to me, I don't know. To me, it's all about, you know, the excuse to marry these passions together. Maybe, you know, they used to, in the Renaissance, they used to call it Renaissance men, which was like the whole idea of knowing a lot about a lot of things and being into different things, and you don't have to pigeonhole yourself. And that was one thing that I never tried to do. I never pigeonholed myself. I really owe a lot of that to my parents, you know. I was a Republican, politics loving, history loving, hockey playing, drum playing, you know, all these kinds of things when I was 10 years old. I already had that identity. You know what I mean? Like, that was always me. I was always talking about politics with my dad. I was always talking about music with my mom. I was always going to the hockey rink to play. I was always in my basement or in my bedroom playing drums. I was, you know, like, and at school learning about history and all those kinds of things. And I always took them kind of equally seriously. And then in my spare time, I'd play video games. You know?
Yeah. See, the diversity has never been my strong suit. When I was a kid growing up, all I did was watch movies and eat Twinkies. Ate a lot of Twinkies. What's that?
Shadowbox.
That wasn't until later in life, Tim, when I heard that calling.
Yeah.
If I had to give up shadowboxing, which by the way, I still I'll occasionally dip a toe in shadowboxing.
Can we please do a video of you shadowboxing? Nick Scarpino's guide to shadowboxing.
I'll show you Nick Scarpino's guide to shadowboxing one day soon. Yeah, I don't know.
I also want to give a shout out to social media in general. That's something that I don't know if I can.
The tweets and the
You
Facebook.
you love it because that's your thing. Like,
I mean, again, that's another thing. I'm not really the most active user of the things.
you used to be though, but I think it goes
No,
in
I
ebb and
didn't.
flow. There was a time when you were like actively trying to tweet and actively trying to Facebook stuff.
No, but that's the problem is trying. Like,
see, I think-
tried for a week and then stopped.
Well,
Like,
again, another one of those problems is like you're too busy making content. You're too busy like burning
that's
it
true,
out.
But at
You
the
know.
same time, like I just enjoy consuming it.
Well, and it's a passive view. Like I read a lot of forums and things like that, but I never ever post. Like I just like to watch other people sometimes. Like it's a voyeuristic sort of like lurk from the shadows. I guess is what they call it in forums. Yeah.